Coming up next, the Bookening discusses the Book of the Dun Cow in all its glory. Hey everybody, welcome to the Bookening. I am Nathan. I am your humble and obedient host. What's this I see before me? I see the pastor who is a master of reading. Right
That's
there.
me.
That's
I'm
him.
right here.
He's
Yep.
and what's his name? What?
I don't know.
Jake Menzel.
That's me.
The
Yep.
man, the
Forgot
myth,
for a
the
second,
legend.
but yeah.
Or Shirley Brandon. We've decided maybe to call you.
Oh, that's my name.
Yeah.
Shirley Brandon.
Well, I tried to do a voice to text thing earlier, and it made a name called Shirley Brandon because I was saying like assuredly Brandon, you know, that kind of thing. Like Shirley Brandon will want to record tonight, but
Yeah.
then it turned into Shirley Brandon. Hey,
Yeah.
this is some quality content. This is an exciting podcast. Brandon had to go switch out his computer or something like that, but he will be joining us any second. Any second, Brandon will be here. And until that time, what should we talk about, Jake?
Mazel tov.
Oh, yeah. Tempted to go get one of those for myself, but then you'd be stuck doing the podcast all by yourself.
I can carry it.
Oh, yeah. Well, if Jake's just going to vamp, this will be fun to see what happens. All right. I'll be right back, folks. Jake is going to carry it. This is going to be the most entertaining, informative, and I'm going to say it, spiritually uplift 2 or 3 minutes that you've ever experienced. Here I go.
Sure. Here we go. So I am just going to take this opportunity with nobody here to say that I appreciate you guys listening to the Bookening, but you really need to be listening to Sanity at the Movies. And here's why. Books, well, first of all, you're listening to podcasts. And we do podcasts because they're the kinds of things that you can consume actively. You know, you can be doing different things. You can pick the speed at which you listen to it. You can go back 10 or 15 or forward 30. You're in control. You can be on a walk. You can be at the gym. Some of you right now are no doubt in the kitchen doing the dishes or making muffins or something like that. So you're doing those sorts of things, but it's an active sort of thing. It's a little one-sided. We've recorded it. You can't do anything about it. Not exactly like a lecture or a sermon or a lesson or anything like that. Hey, Brandon, you're here now.
Hey, told you it would
I'm
take
vamping. I told
2
Nathan,
minutes.
I need you to be quiet. I'm filling up this space while Nathan makes himself a drink.
Is
So-
that what Nathan's doing?
Yeah. Lectures, sermons, lessons, they're interactive. There's audience feedback. A comedian knows the temperature of a room. He makes adjustments. A professor does the same sort of thing. A teacher, a politician giving a speech. Pastor delivering a sermon, that's an interaction with the congregation. You can't just consume a sermon and be a part of one on a video screen. It's not the same thing. You have to be in the room. But video content, movies by nature are passive, more passive than any other medium. They're one-sided, and it doesn't matter how actively you intend to engage them. You are willingly placing yourself in a position of subordination. You're willingly placing yourself in a position of subjection to the will and the whim of a movie maker. And if they've done their job and you do yours, if you've entered into a contract with them to place yourself under them, then you release yourself into their hands. You're carried along, mentally, emotionally, sort of adrift in the sea of the story that they're telling. Books, what you're here for, they're one-sided too, but they're not immersive. Not in the same way. They can be immersive, but you're not intended to sit alone in the dark, consuming them all in one uninterrupted sitting. You're allowed to do it in the sunlight, with distractions, with other things going on, a chunk at a time, a piece at a time. You can do it with a pencil or a pen in hand. And even when it comes to fiction, even good teachers will tell you to do that sort of thing.
Jake,
And they're not multi-sensory.
Jake is wearing
They're
like
no
a
moving-
black turtleneck right now. But sorry.
Nathan, shut your mouth.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
This is Jake's show.
This is my TED Talk, okay?
What are you talking about?
There are no moving.
Holocaust again?
It does no.
I'm hoping this leads to an amazing pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
There are
So
no
call
moving. When you're reading a
1-800
book, stop. You handed me the mic, and I'm taking it, and you sit down and shut up until I'm done.
Wow.
If you
This was a mistake, folks. I'm so sorry.
in a book, there are no moving images, there are no facial expressions, there's no intonation. You supply those things yourself from the stores of your own imagination. There's no score, there's no music telling you how to feel, telling you that something is epic or sad or happy or funny. You supply that from how you interpret what's on the page. That's not true with movies. Every frame, every camera angle, every facial expression, every intonation, every note in the score is designed to produce maximum effect on you, to change you from the inside and out, and you let it happen. It's part of the contract you enter into when you watch a movie. And there is therefore no one that you give more power to in your life, no one, to influence your emotions, your thoughts, your mood, or anything than to a movie maker. You give them a position of authority in your life, a position of dominance that you do not surrender to anybody else. When you walk into a theater, when you press play, you're agreeing to take the world for 2 hours on someone else's terms. So you've got two choices. Tell yourself you're not going to watch any more movies or YouTube videos or TikTok videos or Instagram stories or reels or news clips. Then forget you made yourself that promise and drift right back into passivity. Or join us at Sanity at the Movies, where we teach you how to watch a movie. That's it. Wow. That's all. That's my pitch.
And what does that have to do with the Holocaust?
Absolutely nothing.
Good. That sounds like a great pitch. Sounds like I shouldn't have stepped on it. Sounds like it's the kind of pitch.
You shouldn't have. It was a great pitch.
Well, sounds like you persevered, and I'm glad because.
And today, if you join,
Independence Day?
No. If you join Sanity at the Movies at patreon.com, but then you get 3 friends to join, you'll have your fee waived, and that they have to pay their fee. But then if they get 3 friends to join, they also get their fees waived. Yeah, that's how we get the pyramid scheme in here, guys. You got to get it in there somehow.
If you join Sanity at the Movies Patreon and you get 3 people to join, I will mail you a Reese cup.
I think you should mail them a copy of The Mummy at least, just so we can get the pyramid idea in there.
Like Brendan Fraser's classic
Brendan Fraser's The Mummy
film?
One of the greatest movies ever made.
I think you should privately record a reading of the script for Gladiator 2.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
Is there a Gladiator Part 2?
There was a script.
There was a script, and it's absolutely amazing. I found it today on accident, and I started looking at it.
Ridiculous, crazy, or good?
So it opens up with Maximus in a purgatory-like place.
Right. No. I've heard about this. Yeah.
Yes. And it's because the way to Elysium is basically blocked because the gods are losing their powers because Hephaestus has made himself a Christ or become Jesus or something like that. So the gods send Maximus on a quest to kill Hephaestus, aka the Christ. So like the subtitle is Gladiator 2 Christ Killer or something like that. But then I think what's supposed to happen in this plot is that he basically becomes like this time-hopping, like Lord of Agent of the Gods.
Yeah.
Yeah, who becomes immortal or something like that.
That joins the dinosaurs that can talk and are working as assassins, rejected Jurassic Park sequel, and the James Cameron Spider-Man thing, which we are doing at Patreon.
The James Cameron Spider-Man thing would have actually been a worthwhile movie to see made in 1991.
Was going to do Spider-Man?
He wrote a big Spider-Man treatment that didn't end up getting made, but it's pretty interesting. And if you want to hear more about it, go to patreon.com/Sanity at the Movies, where we'll read the whole darn thing.
Yep.
Okay.
That one's good, in my opinion. I mean, it's got some bad things in it, but
right, like
does Doc Ock make an appearance?
It's a good story. No, he doesn't. Although
that's Brandon's
apparently
good Spider-Man movie.
Apparently, because it was attached to Cameron, people speculated that he would cast Schwarzenegger as Doc Ock. So
that would be fairly glorious in a cornball 90s schlock way.
Yeah. Instead, he got Mr. Freeze. And
well,
are you guys excited for the new Spider-Man Doc Ock appearance?
Sure, why not?
Yeah,
I'm here
for it.
It's like I always say, the air conditioning has frozen my heart to your pleas of mercy, Brandon.
What?
that's Mr. Freeze line from the wonderful film Batman and Robin.
Beer conditioning?
Yeah, beer conditioning.
Yes, beer conditioning.
Beer conditioning. Drinking a lot of beer air conditioning.
Oh.
Hey, have we introduced the fact that Brandon's here?
I acknowleded his presence when he got back on.
And then told me to be quiet.
Yeah.
It is true. It's not quite a turtleneck, but Jake is wearing a very guru kind of just black tee.
It's a gray t-shirt.
Well,
but either in honor of one of his two heroes, Steve Jobs, or that woman who's on trial right now for that testing stuff.
Yeah. Jake loves the Theranos or whatever.
Theranos,
is. Lauren something. Yeah. I listened to that podcast series. Hey guys,
what podcast series?
The one about I don't know, they did one about Theranos, or it was interesting. It just told the story of her fraudulent career. Anyway,
was it good?
It was good. HBO did a documentary series in conjunction with it. It was
this is not a podcast about podcasts.
No, it's a podcast about books, and one of those books is Book of the Dun Cow. It's got book in the title. It's got cow in the title. It's got dun in the title. Brandon, there's a piece of context that I realized you never gave us about this book.
What?
A piece of context that should have been right up your alley if you hadn't been falling down on the job.
He was a modernist?
No. You didn't tell us, what's the story in Chaucer?
Oh, you got a similar cast of characters, but in that book, the fox is actually trying to trick everybody. So you have Chanticleer, who's vain, and Pertolote. I've never actually looked up how you're supposed to say her name.
My audiobook reader pronounced it Pertolote.
Mm-hmm.
But she has a beautiful voice, and he's vain, and the fox is sly and clever and almost gets the best of him, but then in the end doesn't quite get the best of him. So there you go.
One of those fable-y kind of things.
Yeah. It's not nearly as developed as this book with its characterizations of the creatures.
Yeah, well.
And the fox in this book, you think is potentially going to turn out to be the bad guy, but actually is just in the wrong place at the wrong time, or not in the right place.
Yeah. No, he's
at
kind
the
of
right time.
Well,
in that part of the book I wasn't expecting, where babies die.
Yeah, this book is intense. Walter Wangerin is nothing if not a guy that likes to rub your nose in like the existential grind of existence or something like that. I don't know. How's that for a phrase? The existential grind of existence. That's
except phrase. I don't feel like with existentialists, you always get the feeling that their existential grind is always like smoking a cigarette in the back of a French bar. That sort of existential grind.
No,
when you guys see the sun.
Oh, is that the sun?
The solar flares. And it's like J.J. Abrams took over
Abrams' lens flare,
lens flare. I'm about to be in a J.J. Abrams movie.
You just need the windows behind you to start glowing orange.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then something underwhelming to happen. J.J. Abrams. More like gay Abrams.
What if J.J. Abrams were to direct this movie? Oh, what? I mean, the real piece of
de resistance crap
information that I failed to give last time is apparently this was an off-Broadway musical. There's an off-Broadway musical.
I don't think there's anything you could have said that makes me more happier than the knowledge that there was a musical based on Book of the Dun Cow. Was it supposed to be any good?
It was off-Broadway, so...
Yeah.
I mean, they could have been done by the University of Evansville Theater.
Are you going to tell it to the Bookening? Alyssa, my daughter, just came in from work. She makes cookies for a living. Like one of Santa's elves.
Yeah?
Aww.
Like at a cookie
store?
store?
They're really good cookies, too.
Yeah,
and
good.
she says she has a funny story.
Yeah. Well, if our listeners like funny
she
stories.
says she's not telling everybody.
Oh, I want to hear it.
We really want to hear it.
It's probably not something she should tell.
She work at Baked where all the druggies come and get their cookies?
It's crumble cookies.
We have one of those, I think.
She'll come over and say hi. She can tell me her story when we're done.
Hi, Alyssa.
Hi, Alyssa.
Hi.
Hey,
it's been a long time since you've been on the Bookening.
I was going to say, she's an old friend of the Bookening.
I wasn't.
What do you think of Rock-a-Doodle-Doo, Alyssa, the movie? Has the rooster that crows like Elvis?
What?
Uncle Dookie?
What are you talking about?
Folks, I'd like to apologize.
Alyssa doesn't remember any of these things.
Brandon's references to Rock-a-Doodle.
Hi, Anna. Come on in here, too. Anna's here, too.
Turn it into a family affair.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Intense.
Can you cut it out of the Bookening?
What?
No, we're not cutting anything she said.
No, we're
out
not
of the
cutting it
Bookening.
out. So no, they're not going to edit it out.
You think I edit these things?
That was weird. Anyways,
Hey, she read that book by Nate Wilson. What was that book called? Book of the Blur? Book of the Dun Blur?
Boys of Blur.
Boys of Blur, yeah. And she appeared on our podcast, and that was a really fun episode. Well, guys, let's talk about that Dun Cow and the book wherein he is contained, or she. I guess the Dun Cow is a girl, not metaphorically, but like in the book, the Dun Cow is a lady. Well, I guess cows are ladies. It's probably the most insightful thing I've ever said on the Bookening. Cows are ladies.
I agree. You heard it here first.
But is the inverse true?
Are ladies cows? I mean, Rebel Wilson, you know. I'm trying to think of other fat ladies,
10-foot
fat
pole.
Barbara Streisand. No, not all ladies are cows. We are married to some beautiful women who are in no way bovine at all.
Nicely done, Nathan.
True.
Our non-bovine wives.
Man, I love our non-bovine wives. We've got some great non-bovine wives.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Seriously, could you name 3
misogynistic.
better wives? No, we're not. We like our wives.
We like them non-bovine.
Yeah, we like them non-bovine. You can't wash dishes with hooves.
You can't. You'd break them.
You break them, exactly. I'll be releasing my country single. You can't wash dishes with hooves any day now. Be a hit novelty song. Or I'll be run out of town on a rail. One of the two.
What's the name of your band? Divine Not Bovine?
Divine Not Bovine, yeah. Yeah.
Shirley Brandon?
Shirley Brandon.
Shirley
Brandine, the bovine. Divine.
Swine.
The bovine swine. Shirley Brandine, the bovine swine. Hey guys, speaking of bovine swine, Walter Van Jaren wrote some bad poetry, but he seems like a nice guy.
Yeah.
Hey, Jay has been waiting with bated breath for us to talk about this Book of the Dun Cow and finally figure out what we think. And I have purposely avoided coming up with a take until now. So what do I need to think about that Book of the Dun Cow, guys? Help me figure this one out. I thought it was fun to read. I liked it. I enjoyed it.
It was a fun read.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. So it's been about a week now since we all finished the book and we were going to talk about it. And
Has it been a week?
it's been a long time.
A week. It's been a long
Definitely
time since we read
Not longer than a week.
Definitely not longer than a week.
Yep.
Definitely not 2.5 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about
Definitely
right.
not. Yep. Definitely not longer than that.
Liked it. I think I liked it. I thought it was fun. I liked the characters. I thought the writing was good and engaging. Like Jake said last time, his style. There's something unique about his style, and you could easily call it affected. It kind of is affected,
It's a little bit, yeah.
but it works.
Yeah, it's elevated in such a way that it's a good tone for what he's trying to do. It elevates the story he's trying to tell.
Yep.
I would say the best writers. I would say the best writers feel like they're not trying, even if they are. They feel like they're not trying. They feel like they're just giving you their thoughts. The second best writers feel like they're trying and succeeding, and the worst writers feel like they're trying and failing. I would put him in the camp of it feels like he's trying and succeeding. It feels like he's doing a thing.
There's nothing effortless about this.
No, it's like
it doesn't feel effortless. It does feel affected, but affected to good effect.
Yes.
Well, I think part of what makes it work is the fact that he's writing a fable,
right,
and kind of retelling a Chaucer story,
right,
and so that carries over into this heightened tone that he uses, so he can kind of get away with it. But also,
it should feel like it's mythological enough. It should feel like epic poetry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and it does.
Yeah,
but also, even like when it comes to the dialogue, you feel that if animals were going to talk, they wouldn't necessarily talk like we do. Like they might have an animal way of speaking.
Right.
And so it kind of works for this rooster with his group of hens. You would expect them not to have the same, because language reflects reality.
Right.
And,
and he could still define the reality of how a rooster would talk to his hens and strut around his roost.
And he does.
And so, and a weasel and all these guys are going to have their own way of speaking and their own way of saying things that in the story, it works. It works pretty well.
Yeah, I will say it would be interesting to read this book not right after reading Watership Down and then Howl's Moving Castle, because that is some stiff competition when it comes to fantasy, when it comes to world building, and when it comes to descriptive dialogue and animals.
When it comes to style.
When it comes to absolutely everything that this book does pretty well, we have just read something that does it a little bit better in either Howl or more specifically Watership
That's not
Down.
true.
I mean, in terms of...
That's not true. I think Dun Cow is more punchy and engaging than, in some ways, than either of those two books. And I think the one place where I can make you agree with me that it does at least one thing better is action.
Yeah. Well, I would love to be able to give that to you and give that to Jay, but man, the fight between Bigwig and General Woundwort
is it's great action.
I would say Dun Cow is better. Yes, I will. Okay, I'll give it to you. This is one of the best action books we've read, actually. I'd say it comes behind Dune and it comes behind Ricky Tikki Tavi as far as the action stuff that we've read.
But I don't think that you can put anything above it besides those.
No. I mean, I don't even know. I mean, what else have we read that has action? Anna Karenina has the horse
on
race.
That level. Nothing on that level.
I mean, I'll be Brandon for saying War and Peace, you guys. Some of the best depictions, but that's not really
insufferable.
A Wrinkle in Time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't they just love the bad?
The Chronicles of Narnia, Tolkien, Harry Potter.
No, so okay, we're making a bold claim. We are actually putting this.
We've done all of those books.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, I'd put it above those. I mean, ultimately, while a young boy's imagination can really fill in a lot of details for something like, say, Helm's Deep, Tolkien is not interested in giving you an awesome, like, sword fight or something like that. Some orc heads roll. He gives you a little gore, a little violence, but Narnia, same thing, actually. There's not a lot of descriptive action scenes. There is some, like, Peter lopped his head off, which I always liked as a kid, but that's not the same thing as a great action scene. And
so what makes his action work so well, then? Not to steal your questions, Nathan.
No. That's an interesting question, because I have tried in my life to write action before, and it's really hard not to be boring with it. Not to, like, how much description do you give, and how do you make it feel visceral?
It's like when movie critics criticize a director for not being good at action.
Mm-hmm.
They usually have specific things in mind, but I'm not sure I've ever completely even understood that with, like, cinema. But I'm thinking what I can understand with cinema is you want to know where the center of the action's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And you also want to be able to be immersed in the fight scene without getting too distracted. You want to know what's happening. And you want it to be well choreographed.
You want two things, and they're kind of opposite things. They're things that if either one of them can overwhelm the other. And the two things are, you want to be able to follow the strategy, and you want to have forward momentum. You want to have visceral forward momentum. And so some books get bogged down in too much. You know, if you've ever read like Three Musketeers or something, it's like, he decided to use this defense and do this thing, and it's just like strategy, and it's kind of boring. Or if you've read certain other books, I don't know, Boys of Blur or something, just to pick a random thing that we've read, it'll just be straight viscera, nothing, you don't know why anyone's doing. But what I love, so I think the best action scene we've read, actually, say what you will about the book, but the best action scene we've read is the first big knife fight between Paul Atreides and the Freeman guy that challenges him. And what I love about that scene is that it's fast and it's brutal and it's violent and it has this visceral forward momentum to it, but you're also in Paul's head as he makes life or death decisions, and you can kind of follow those decisions. Even if you don't know anything about knife fighting, you can understand why he's doing what he's doing and what it can accomplish. And I think Ricky Tikki Tavi for a fight between a mongoose and a cobra is similar. And I think the fight scenes in this are similar. Walter Wangerin's actually also just not afraid to ladle on the violence, which...
Yeah, that's the other part of it. He just...
It's kind of horrifying and maybe some of the more visceral
action. Yeah, I mean, it is gory.
I think he gets away with it because it's animals, so you don't feel the same repugnance that you might feel with if they were humans just tearing chunks out of each other. But I don't know. Is that a good theory? What does make a good literary action scene?
I think you're right. You're going to hate me for this, but one of the other action scenes that I go to, and it's not like a fight scene, but it's just because the action is good. Mm-hmm. It is the Christmas Troika ride in War and Peace.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no need to hate you for that. It's a good action scene. I think there has to be a certain poetry to it. Like there has to be the rhythm of the prose has to convey something about the action that is happening too, which is more of a dance than and kind of hard to put your finger on. There's a lot of it factor, a lot of pixie dust that sort of goes into, you might call it pacing, but I think there's more to it even.
That's what I meant by forward momentum, I think. Just it can't take too long, but it also can't take too short. It's really difficult to do.
But like in Dune, if I remember right, certain aspects of the knife fight even have, like in the word choices, a staccato.
Yeah. Ba-dum, 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 ba-duh.
Yeah, where the wordplay feels like thrust and parry, whereas I don't know, and you just I think there's a way with the word choice, with the rhythm, that the poetry of it that can convey, that can color the action.
I think that's true. I also think the really great literary action scenes, and I have read Tom Clancy and I have read Jack Reacher and things like that. Those tend to be very staccato. And then Jack Reacher snapped the guy's neck. I mean, that's like a Jack Reacher action scene. It's really fast. It takes like 3 or 4 sentences. But what I like about the examples that we've given is that they actually do slow it down. They keep a nice visceral feeling, forward momentum. But if you were going to compare them to a cinematic equivalent, it wouldn't really be like Jason Bourne or something. It would be more like a Zack Snyder kind of, you can actually hold on a moment. It's like the Vronsky horse race. When Vronsky's horse turns over, you feel like in the movie it would have to be slow motion, because you're living in Vronsky's head as time slows down and his horse tumbles and everything just goes to absolute garbage.
And in those moments, time does slow down.
Yeah. And I think
that's the beauty of portraying it that way.
Right. And while cinema will always be a better medium for capturing movement, obviously, because it's a visual media, I think literature can capture that kind of thing incredibly well. Just I'm in my head in this moment as everything comes to a head, as I do this as the other guy does this. That's what Dune, I think, does really well. It is staccato, it is fast, but you can also be in Paul's head as he makes strategic decisions and as things either pay off or don't. And that can be really powerful and fun to follow along with.
Yep.
But Wangeren's more quick and gory, I think, than the other two, than Dune or maybe Ricky Tikki Tavi. It's just...
He is, but I think that they all share that element in common of sort of this poetic balance and sense of moving from what's happening outside versus what's happening inside this person's head as they're moving through this. Because with Tolstoy, you get the snow, but then you also get what's happening with Nikolai and Sonia, or Sophie. Which one is Sonia in that time? Yeah.
Yeah, it is Sonia. Mm-hmm.
And same with the horse ride, or Vronsky's horse race. And so there you also get what the rooster's thinking, but then also what's happening with the actual, just the bodies, and it's just perfectly, they don't spend too much time on each one, but enough to make you feel like you're a part of the action.
Mm-hmm.
And like you have something at stake too.
Yeah. Like, I will say, I think all the examples that we've really given, including Tolstoy, lean more towards a subjective close-up view of things than they do towards a wide angle, to speak cinematically, kind of objective. Seems like what we all three like is living in somebody's head as they undergo an action scene.
Like good character development. We want to know.
I mean, that's definitely what
affecting
Tolstoy.
The character.
That's Vronsky in the horse race. That's Pierre in the battle.
Andre in the battle.
Well, it's Andre in the battle, but doesn't Pierre crash a battle near the end of that book?
No, yeah, you're right. Yeah. I'm
just
just agreeing. I'm also saying Andre.
Oh, right. Yeah, I misheard you.
But that's kind of key to Tolstoy's way of handling battle scenes is that, yes, you're getting the battle, but you're there with the characters. So you even care about Kutuzov, the general. Right. So...
Well, and that's also what I love about the two knife fights in Dune is you're in Paul's head and you're watching him, I've said this a million times now, but make these choices. And it's fun because he's had training and he's trying to live up to it. And he's also channeling his newly developed Cuisinart Sazerac powers or whatever. And it's awesome. That's why Dune's
Cuisinart
probably the best.
Sazerac.
Yeah.
Can you make a Sazerac with a Cuisinart?
Sure. Probably. You just put the ingredients in there and hit Cuisin.
Probably not the greatest thing.
No, I'm not going to say it's a good idea, but can you do it?
When we start our literary themed jazz bar, we'll have a Cuisinart Sazerac.
Yeah, that'll be the
Indeed.
first drink on the menu, and our bar will close in under a week, probably. But
it'll just be the three of us sitting up on the stage.
Does it have to be a jazz
Talking
bar?
about
I mean, I know
books.
that's
No,
kind of a beat literary thing, but can't we just? I don't even know. What should it be?
A book bar.
Can it be classical? No, that's lame. What should it be? I don't want it to be dad rock, but I don't want it to be
We
jazz.
don't need music. The three of us will be up on stage talking about books, and everybody will just be drinking their drinks.
That sounds fantastic.
And paying
What
no
drink
attention
would
to
we
us
base
whatsoever.
on? What drink would we base on this book?
On Book of the Dun Cow?
Yeah.
Well, there's just got to be a punny drink name. Let's see. The Book of the... the Book of the Long Island Iced Tea. Nailed it.
That's awful.
Well, you got a Moscow Mule. Why can't you have a Dun Cow?
A Dun Cow, yeah. So we just have a drink called the Dun Cow.
Yeah,
And
and it's
it's
just
just-
a
it's
riff
just-
on
Sounds
the
like a good
Moscow
drink.
Mule.
I would have that.
Sounds like it's got milk in it, quite frankly.
The Chanticleer.
The Chanticleer? I'd have a Chanticleer, yeah.
Pertelote.
The Pertelote? That could have Pernod. The Pernotelote?
One drink per book.
Oh, yeah.
The Dun Cow does not get a whole... we're not doing a Dun Cow themed bar, guys.
Okay.
Sorry.
Speaking of the Dun Cow, I do
I'm going to
think
bring my
that's
business sense to the bear here.
much in a similar way to Lewis. I felt like I just wished he had stuck to the story and not tried to add anything weird and spiritual to this book, because the Dun Cow was my least favorite part. That was just weird.
Yeah. Well, what is the moral of this book again? I mean,
I don't know, but does anybody want to explain to me who the Dun Cow was and
I think
why she's a
the
part
Holy
of this?
Spirit.
Yeah.
Pretty sure. Or God. I mean, she's divine, right? Not just bovine, but divine.
She's some
Divine,
kind of
bovine.
Yeah.
divine character.
I mean, she's
Sad-eyed and...
help me piece together this story. So his kids die and he's sad, or his kid dies and he's sad, and then the Dun Cow is like, "Hey, life happens. Don't be sad." And he's like, "Okay, Dun Cow," and then he's like full of peace and acceptance or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And
But not really. Like,
no, he's angry with God, essentially, metaphorically, but he's angry with God. I remember that.
yeah, the whole book basically comes down to the world is full of evil, and even if you're a hero, dealing with the evils of this world will make you bitter, and it's kind of okay to be angry with God about all of it.
Because God is a benevolent force that is prepared to be bigger than that.
Yeah, he's bigger than that, so you can
He or
Rail
she is bigger
and-
than that.
be bitter and angry and punish the people that you love until they manipulate you by setting your ego against your friend and force you out of your
But also,
misery.
if you're an idiot savant dog, then you can actually be the savior of the world by jumping down a hole.
Is that what he is? Is an idiot
that's
savant?
right.
But yeah, well, who is Mundo Cunny Dog? Like, what is that was the part that I intentionally, just for fun, to make this podcast more spicy and interesting, did not let myself think too much about. What is the point of this dog?
He fills the
character?
role of any sort of like Eeyore character, self-pitying, sad.
But then he gets the big sacrifice at the end. What's with that?
Yeah, well, it's sort of like trying to do what Lewis would do with a similar character, where
Mhm.
the dutiful, the self-pitying but dutiful.
Like a
Puddleglum.
Puddleglum
Yeah,
or
like-
Trumpkin or one of those guys.
Yeah,
The gardener and...
yeah. He actually gets, because he gets to be the one, not the hero, to make the big sacrifice. And
So it's a subversion, like... it should have been the hero, but the hero was too much of a grouch, and so the idiot savant got to do it.
Well, that, but also
he had other things that he needed to do.
The hero needed
and
to
this
stick around.
guy's whining his whole life and sad, but also he's faithful and loyal, and he does things that prove his character outside of his extreme self-pity.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the end, he gets to have this noble sacrifice that overcomes all of his not nasty, but just weak characteristics that are forgivable, partly because they're funny, or supposed to be funny.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Puddleglum's the same way.
Yeah.
If Puddleglum was just an outright miser and hateful person, then it would be very different than the glum, moody person that he is. So,
but if Puddleglum had killed the Snake Queen at the end, you would have been like, "Ah, cool, Puddleglum stepped up. That's awesome." When the cow jumps down the mine shaft or whatever it is,
you mean the dog?
The dog, sorry. You feel like he's accepted the mantle of being the archetype or something. Like
you feel like he just sort of has to be the one to make the sacrifice because it's important for other people to do other things. And he's got one special thing that he can do, and that's hold on tight.
Yeah.
Are we supposed to think that it should have been Chanticleer, but Chanticleer was too weak and
I don't think so. I mean, maybe, but that wasn't my read or my impression.
Like it's an indictment of Chanticleer?
Yeah, is it somehow an indictment that he didn't make the redemptive sacrifice, that the dog?
I mean, some of it I think is just like you don't get what you want. You want the cathartic way out here, Chanticleer, and you want to just go down, and instead you're going to have to walk away and live and deal with the bitterness of having sacrificed so much, having borne so much, having other people feeling like other people don't appreciate it and don't love you, and being all wounded and bitter, and you're going to have to grow past that. You don't get the cathartic, and that's not the end that leaders get often. It's the foot soldiers who get those ends.
Right.
And it doesn't feel fair. Life's not fair. Nothing in this book is fair. It's not meant to be fair.
Yeah. Walter Wangerin certainly has a line in, well, it would have been nice if you would have said something nice to Monday Gunny Dog before he sacrificed himself to save the world, but you didn't.
Yep. Now you got to live with it.
Would have been nice if your children didn't die, but they did. There's evil.
Now you got to live with it.
There's Worm. What do you want? Chanticleer. Yeah. There's evil. So I don't know. I mean, that doesn't sound too bad.
No.
Do we just like this book? Why does
this book? Because it is bitter and angry and wants you to feel justified in your bitterness and anger towards God.
Mm-hmm.
That's why. I mean, it's taken a while. It has been 2.5 months since I read this book. I don't know why I read it so long ago, or maybe I thought we were discussing it much earlier than we did.
We were actually scheduled to do it before Howl, and I don't know why that got reversed, but it did. So, not Jake's fault, but
so anyhow, but I remember just thinking, this is the kind of person who Tim tells a story of when his dad died in the hospital. The chaplain or pastor or somebody came up to him and told him that he had a right to be angry with God.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a really decisive moment in his life where he made a decision to love God in the midst of his pain, or to be bitter and angry with God. And the evil of a pastor walking to you at your most vulnerable in a moment like that and telling you have a right to be angry with God. That's the kind of thing that is sort of happening here. Mm-hmm. It's a kind of the best spin I think you can put on it is that in his desire to force you to reckon straight ahead with the actual real evil of this world, he's willing to throw everything else under the bus.
Yeah.
Including God. And that's what makes it feel off.
Yeah. Yeah. It did feel off. This is one of those books, very much like Till We Have Faces, that feels like it's come so close to some kind of profundity, but then it's just 2% off, and that 2% is so deadly that you'd almost rather it be 50%, because 50% off would just be, oh, well, this is kind of silly, whatever. But being just a little bit wrong is ultimately more poisonous because it feels right in a lot of ways. You know, like you read something Wicked This Way Comes, and it's like, we can love the bad guy to death. I don't feel nearly as threatened by that because I'm just like, whatever, that's cheesy. But this, I'm like, there's something a little bit enticing actually about this, and something poisonous about it. And I don't know, I wasn't sure whether the instinct that I had. I liked the book. I did like the book. I found it to be entertaining, but also I felt like it might have been playing to some bad instincts in me, like whatever it is in me that likes Till We Have Faces, whatever it is in me that likes depravity for the sake of depravity. And
you think that's here?
Mysticism and Gnosticism. A little
bit. Well, the
yeah.
mysticism for sure with the dung cow and some of the weirdness happening around that.
Yeah.
And feels a little bit like he's got a soft spot for the paganists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what is maybe most Till We Have Faces about it.
So, which is just an undercurrent with that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That world. I mean, you get it with I'll stop there. You get it with people. Don't want to start any firefights.
Well, I liked this book. I really did like this book, but
it was really enjoyable to read. It was one of the most fun reads that in recent memory.
Well, I'm sort of with you, except for that Howl and Watership were both pretty fun, but
Howl was fun.
Howl was fun.
Howl and Duncow were fun in a light sort of way.
Watership was an investment. Yeah.
You had to invest in it, and there were regular payoffs. It was fun in the sense that The Hobbit is fun.
Yeah. Watership is the superior novel of all three of them, but by a long
I personally enjoyed Howl's writing better than this. But
you'd pick up a book like Howl or like Duncow to read over a weekend, or something like that on vacation or on a little weekender trip, and it's fun, like enjoyable reading. You decide to read Watership Down, you decide to read The Hobbit, and you take the time it takes to read it and actually enjoy it.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say, this book, I liked it. I'm not quite sure why it has the legacy it has. Like, why do people love this book? Because I liked it fine, but I'm not sure I understand what it is that people find
the same reason
so
that people,
intriguing.
I think it has to do with the timing. I suspect it has to do with the timing. I suspect it's similar to hitting Dostoevsky at a certain time of life or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Where, if you're young and you're dealing with the...
Oh, there actually is evil out there. Whoa. Yeah.
Yeah. In the same way that a Dostoevsky or Flannery O'Connor or something can hit that spot of affirming, yeah, there really is evil out there. Yeah, it really is heavy. Yeah, it really does suck. Like, bad things really do happen, and it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to live and maybe bask in that a little bit, and maybe a little too much. But, it hits that spot of just like, yeah, like, and it does try to offer some kind of hope.
Yeah.
It may not do a great job of it, but he certainly goes out of his way, in any case, to make sure it doesn't feel cheap. And I think that's something that anybody, especially a young man who's reckoning with the evils of this world, will appreciate, even if he comes back with a more mature understanding later.
Yep. There's real sacrifice that's required to defeat evil, which, as we've often said, is something that J.K. Rowling sort of landed that plane, but maybe didn't quite. I don't know. Maybe she did. But anyway, it's an open question for her, and it's a closed question for
Mr. Wangren.
Mr. Wangren. I don't know. Any other insights about Book of the Dun Cow, Brandon?
I don't think so. I guess the last thing I've been wondering is, like, would I give this to my kids? My older boys, I think I would. I don't really get worried about, like, the weird mysticism, the sort of bitter undertones so yeah, I guess two things leaving. I just wanted to wrap my head around is A, would I do that? B, so if Jake, like, what's the biggest concern you have for this pastorally? Like, this book, what was summarize that again for me.
That it validates a certain kind of grudge against God. Bitterness.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, yeah. Kind of like a grief observed.
That this is the way that it is, and
yeah,
it sucks, and I have to live with the fact that God could, and in my moral world should have make things different, but he doesn't, and just kind of sucks.
Yeah.
I can imagine, like, if somebody was wanting to argue against that, they'd just say, he's doing Job, Jake. Like, the story here is there's evil, it's inexplicable.
And where's the point where God comes in instead of crying and says, shut up?
Yeah, that's the thing, is there's not that moment.
Be humble.
And
that's when the Dun Cow shows up and says, here's some random piece, and I'm not going to answer any of your questions, actually, but you know what? I'm the Dun Cow and you're not. I don't buy that argument. I'm with you. I'm with you guys. I'm just saying, I can imagine.
Yeah, it's not the same. There's not the fear. There's not the magnificence and the splendor and the terror.
There's nothing.
That's all lacking.
There's nothing about putting your hand over your mouth and repenting in dust and ashes.
Yeah.
There's no.
And that's what Chanticleer needed.
No truly sincere moment where he shuts up, puts his hand over his mouth, and says, who am I?
Yeah, I think that's so. As much as I like the style of this book, like as I was reading some of the stuff Wangerin would say,
we all feel tempted. We all feel tempted to be angry with God when bad things happen. We've all been there. Mm-hmm. Like, bad things have happened to all of us. Our parents have divorced. People have died that we love and that we feel like we need. And it's easy to be angry about that and feel like something has been taken with you that you needed or that you deserved or that you didn't deserve to have taken away from you. And at the end of the day, the answer to that is you're not God.
Were you there
and
when
it's
I made the
okay.
Whale? Were you there?
Yeah. And the response to feeling that anger rise in you should actually be sadness, repentance, sorrow over your own pride that you think you know better than the God who knows where the storehouses of snow are.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's what this book is missing. It's not even that it evokes the anger, because a good book could evoke the anger.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have anywhere to channel it that's positive, that's good, that's humble.
Yeah, and so I was going to say that reading about Wangerin and some of the things he would say, like he said that in later books, like he didn't really have the same success that he had with this book with any of his later books.
Mm-hmm.
And editors tried to tell him to tone the language down, to not use that heightened style in his later books. And he's like, well, that's kind of the thing I do. I'm going to keep that. And you can't help but think that that's some of that lack of humility that you see there even comes out in the sort of elaborate way that he tells this story. Like, it worked, but you're also seeing an ego at work that really needed, like Chanticleer, to be told sometimes it's good to shut up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, you get that with a lot of authors, but sometimes it just comes through, like Mark Twain. You get that with his voice. So that's what Mark Twain needed to be told for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, sometimes, Samuel, it's best to just shut up.
Yeah.
So, but I still like the book.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's an obvious point, but if the essence of God was portrayed as masculine, I think I might have an easier time swallowing a lot of this book's conceits. The fact that anytime God shows up, he's a cow, and B,
makes me definitely have more respect for Lewis and Aslan.
Yeah, I mean,
he made the better choice.
Aslan could have gone wrong in a lot of ways, but he didn't go wrong by not having power. He's not a tame lion, after all, but the Dun Cow feels like a tame cow.
Yeah.
Well, how many udders out of 700 do you give to this book, Brandon?
635.
Whoa, that's high. You really like
I don't
this
know.
book.
I don't know what percentage that is. I'm not good at math.
How many udders out of 700 do you give to Anna Karenina?
700.
That's pretty low, don't you think?
I mean, can I
feel
go
like that's
higher?
low.
7,000.
Yep, that's the correct answer for Anna Karenina.
Okay.
I mean, I don't feel like this book gets more than
War and Peace 7001.
Yeah, 609,099 would be more accurate. considering that it is the inferior book.
400.
400.
Yeah.
That feels that's coming in just over 50%.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a positive review.
It's an F.
Well,
so I think of things as grades. That's how I think of things. I know you guys think of things as movie stars.
Yeah, I think of them as movie stars, and 3 out of 4 is fine. 3 out of 4 is like, it was good.
You're giving it more like 3.5 out of 5.
You know, 3.5 out of 5 is like, this movie did its job. I'm glad I saw it. You should
well, then if we're doing movie star logic and not teacher logic, then sure, 400. There we go.
All right. Yeah, I give it. I'll give it 399.
I didn't want to give the guy an F for a book that's perfectly passable.
No, it's good. It's good. As for whether I'd give it to a kid, I don't know. Would kids even like this? I guess kids might like this. I don't know.
Some kids would like the rooster fights.
Yeah, it's got good rooster fights. But it's got an awful lot of like, Chanticleer and his wife had to learn how to have a relationship. I mean, it's just a weird book. I'm not quite sure I'm vibing on why it means so much to people. Like I can tell. I get the young men kind of thing, like Jake was talking about, but it feels like a lot of people just remember this book with a lot of fondness.
Well, what's strange about it though is it wasn't just the like conservative Christians who were going to trend towards classical and learning and also giving up their faith and becoming Catholics. Which you get a little bit of that with the way that the Dunkel is kind of like the Blessed Virgin Mary.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get the sense that Wangerin probably was on the edge his entire life there with just deciding to become a Catholic, which a lot of those guys do.
Mm-hmm.
He was ELCA.
Yeah, that's true.
What does that mean for our listeners? If there's a listener out there that doesn't know it.
We covered it in our context episode, but he's Evangelical Lutheran Church in America. It's a pastor,
right,
of a liberal mainline Lutheran denomination that's almost as close to Roman Catholic as you can get.
Yep. Yeah, I'm not sure that this book has anything to say that like The Shack or The Lovely Bones or one of those books that's like something terrible happened and terrible things happen, but I guess there's a purpose behind it. So that's cool, huh? Has to say.
It is cool.
It is cool that there's a purpose behind things. That's true. Would you like to call out our patrons?
Yeah.
Let's make
My
it
favorite
quick.
part of the show.
My daughter's been patiently waiting for this computer.
She's just been standing there drumming her fingers the whole time.
She's got to get her homework done, man. She's got 33 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, maybe I should let you guys do this and jump off.
Oh, Brandon. Here, we'll make it really fast. What
are we going to do?
Just say the name of different cow species as I read our patrons. So here I go. Routed around to the Lovebirds, the Artful Anthony Dodger, Little Anthony Cigar Story, the Immortal Chelsea E,
Brisket,
Jimmy Beam and Little Annie Boakley,
Sirloin,
Lily of the Valley,
T-bone.
Andrew Nestor Lovebirds,
Ribeye,
the Keith Master,
Ribeye.
David's Mighty Men Trucking, John and
Prime
Joel,
rib.
Little Baby Max,
Ribeye.
Jay and Katie, you were called Love Cheese and also
Ribeye's pretty good.
It's
Very Princess
ribeye.
Mother, Wonder and Mother, Happiness Mother Beth, Charles Prime
Brisket.
Adam, Neither Not Me,
Ribeye and brisket. I think I could live on
Benny and Dana Tabiris,
Ribeye and brisket.
Just ribeye and brisket. I don't think I would need anything else.
Lavender's green,
Green Dylan, lavender's blue.
Lavender's green, Dylan. I love you too.
Brisket's really pretty
No
tasty.
Constrictor, Bear Chief, the Fair
It's really great when it's done well.
You know what's
But you know
good?
what
Beef
is-
ribs.
Jiu-Jitsu Jeffrey.
You know
Ever had a good
really
beef
good.
rib?
Rachel.
Ribeye. Ellen, Return of the
Ribeye is
Bride,
really good.
Jay of Rack and Ruin, Frankenstein.
1 minute left.
Timothy the Writer at
Did
Dawn.
you say Frankenstein?
Kid, the camp,
No, I said I told her.
No,
we got
Nathan
1 minute
did.
left.
Nathan
Maddie
said
Frankenstein, yeah,
Dracula,
because he's
Sweet Jay,
joining us.
Sunshine, Tyler the Keeper of Eternal Darkness.
You like ribeye, Alyssa?
Ribeye.
Frankenstein,
You ever had ribeye
Steel,
steak?
Cody, Jack of the Librarian,
Yeah.
Barbarian, Dracula.
She said she's had ribeye before.
Bobby Bum Diggity, and Captain
ribeye versus brisket.
I was supposed to say Frankenstein. I meant to say ribeye.
Ryan the Terror.
Alyssa says brisket
Eric
wins.
of the Cream and Texas, who no longer are stuck in the cold police, and she's Ben Solo and
Any other part of the cow?
John the Cosmic King of Chaos, Matthew the Mind Flayer, and you're okay. Get your gun.
She grew up in this household.
She's
Thor,
indoctrinated.
Ragnar, Josh, Steve, Ed,
Your
Piccolo,
brisket is fantastic.
It is
Yeah.
true. It's great.
But-
brisket. Lady of the Crystal Lake. Ian the
I bet if we put our minds to it,
a man in
we could make a pretty good ribeye.
You would make a superior ribeye
Emily
to
Nightshade, the Hunter
your
of
brisket.
Dreams. All about
because it's a
Benjamin.
superior cut of meat.
Maybe
There's
I
a reason
will.
why people don't like brisket, and it's because it's so easy to get wrong.
Oh yeah, they dry it out.
Dry or soggy. And there's all kinds of ways to go wrong with brisket. Really great brisket is really great, but it's super hard to get ribeye wrong.
It is an art.
Guys, we need to
Friends, it is an art.
We need to reintroduce a returning,
Such a great
prodigal
piece of meat.
patron, guys.
Who?
We've got a prodigal patron that returned.
Oh, I know about this.
Actually, two of them.
What?
This is
The
exciting.
the prodigals have come home.
The
We got to
prodigals-
slaughter that fattened dun cow, man.
Yeah, let's slaughter that fat and done cow.
Oh,
That's
it
what
is.
this whole podcast
It's-
has been.
It's done, been slaughtered.
It's done been slaughtered, cow.
We're gonna have some brisket. We're gonna have some ribeye steak, and we're gonna have some T-bone. It's gonna be
Mhm.
great. Some New York strip.
It's
Some
gonna be
burgers.
divine
We're gonna throw a
ribeye.
party.
Some ground
Ain't
beef
nothing like a
with some-
divine
Some
ribeye.
ground chuck.
Some ground chuck. All right,
Throw
guys.
some bacon in there.
Yeah, some beef bacon.
Guys,
Yeah.
Guys,
it's called
guys.
beef jerky. What?
we have none other than one of our favorite patrons.
Well, that was funny.
We have none other than one of our favorite patrons, and then he cuts out on us.
We have none other, guys, than one of our favorite patrons and one of our favorite other patrons. Now, in connubial bliss.
Oh,
Aww.
Can we say the other thing that they are? Is that like just public knowledge right now?
I feel like
by the
it's
time
public
this
knowledge by
lands,
now.
yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah.
They're
They
in
are
jail.
done. Yep. Yep. They were selling heroin. It was unfortunate.
He really likes this book.
Baby.
Yeah,
He's a
having-
big fan of this book.
Yep. They're having their own little dun cow.
Hopefully, no basilisks are around.
Yeah, hopefully. Guys, it's Jeremy, the dark hooded Lord of Death,
Woo!
and none other than a patron that we've all been, I think everyone's been missing, which is the dark hooded Lady of Death. I guess. I mean, she's
Sure.
married to the dark hooded Lord of Death. Does that mean she gets her own dark hood?
No,
She gets, yeah.
I mean, she's definitely the Lady of
Jake
Death.
says
Maybe
no.
she's
No, she can be the Lady of Light.
the pink hooded Lady of Death. Maybe she has a pink hood.
You think pink?
Well, I mean, I don't know. She's a lady. They like the color pink, don't they? The ladies.
The light garbed Lady of Light.
She's still married to the dark hooded Lord of Death. I don't think she's bringing the light here.
My daughter says I got to get off. She needs this computer.
All right. Do your homework, Alyssa. Boo.
All right. Have a
All
good
right.
night, everybody.
Good
Okay.
night.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.